Hello everyone, it's Cake Jostello here, and today I'm going to be talking about several different anime that fall under the category of Mon anime, which is short for monster anime. Mon anime are typically shows about monsters and the kids who train them, the most well known of which is Pokemon. Pokemon happens to be the highest grossing media franchise of all time, beginning with the video games Pokemon Red and Green, released for the Nintendo Game Boy in 1996. Needless to say, the phenomenon spawned a few competitors looking to also cash in on the monster craze. So today we are going to be talking about these different anime. Most of the spots on this list are children's anime produced around the same time as the original Pokemon anime, while the last three may interest older viewers. Shows like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Duel Masters, Card Capture Sakura, Beyblade, and Bakugan don't exactly fit the criteria, so I feel the need to mention that we won't be covering them today. I also won't be discussing later similar shows such as Yokai Watch and Dinosaur King, as they're a little past my time, but I figure I should name drop them at least, considering this is a video all about pet monster anime. Number 1. Digimon. Digimon is probably the first show that comes to mind when people think of shows similar to Pokemon. Digimon follows the adventures of the Digidestined, children who are thrown into the digital world and chosen to save it. The Digidestined each have their own Digimon who fight alongside them. Unlike Pokemon, whose evolutions typically only move in a forward direction, excluding newer Mega Evolutions introduced in Generation 6, Digimon can move forward or backwards in their evolution lines. Another big difference is Digimon can actually speak, whereas Pokemon just repeat their names over and over. Digimon was typically aimed at slightly older children than Pokemon, and the designs of the Digimon reflect this, more so in their stronger forms. When the show begins, the Digimon are in their forms known as in training. Digimon can evolve into Rookie, Champion, Ultimate, and even Mega forms if strong enough. Digimon began as a virtual pet toy by Bandai in 1997 and was adapted into an anime in 1999 by Toei Animation. The anime has gone on to have many seasons, each featuring a new main cast of characters. The franchise also includes several movies, lots of different video games, manga, and trading cards. If you're looking for a good substitute for Pokemon, Digimon is probably as good as you're going to get out of a series. Number 2. Monster Rancher. Monster Rancher was a 73-episode monster anime by TMS Entertainment, based on Tecmo's Monster Rancher series of games. It tells the story of a boy named Genki, who was transported to a monster world through a video game. This was a virtual world isekai, or another world anime, before virtual world isekai turned into the hugely popular and oversaturated subgenre it is today. So what is a stale concept now was a bit more of an original idea back then. In the monster world, monsters are awakened from stone discs at special temples. Genki befriends Holly, a girl seeking a legendary monster called the Phoenix, which is hidden inside one of these discs. The two build a small group of monsters together and attempt to find the Phoenix in order to save the monster world from the evil tyrant known as Mu. Like in Digimon, the monsters in this anime can speak the same language as humans. The show was a favorite of mine when I was a kid, but I was probably the only kid in class watching it. It wasn't really as big as Pokemon or Digimon, and the video game series died out years after the anime. The last home console game was on PlayStation 2, and the last handheld game would be on Nintendo DS, if we're excluding things like mobile games. While the show may not have been as prolific as either of the two big names in pet monster anime, the show itself stands out enough for me to recommend it. Number 3. Medabots. Medabots was another anime based on a video game similar to Pokemon. The 52-episode series was produced by B-Train and was followed by a 39-episode sequel called Medabots Spirits by Production IG. Both of the shows focus on a boy named Iki and his Medabot named Medabi. A Medabot is a robot with advanced AI, which are later revealed to be the remnants of an ancient race, who put their memories into the hexagonal metals used to power Medabots. Medabots do battle with one another alongside their human companions, much like in Pokemon. The show even has its own version of Team Rocket, albeit a goofier version, called the Rubber Robo Gang, who seek to collect rare metals for their leader, Dr. Armand. Both of the Medabots anime have interesting character designs and unique style to their animations. The series has had a history of games, the main series being somewhat similar to Pokemon. The series has also had some side games, such as a video game based on the trading card game, and an ecchi Medabots battle game featuring a robust female cast that lose their clothes under certain circumstances. While that last game isn't suitable for kids, the rest of the series can be recommended as a nice substitute for Pokemon. Number 4. Fighting Foodons. Easily the most ridiculous anime on the list, Fighting Foodons is a 26-episode anime produced by Group TAC, based on a manga series by Naota Tsushima. Fighting Foodons involves chefs who use magical cards, known as meal tickets, to turn their dishes into creatures, known as Foodons. The show follows the adventures of a boy named Chase, who seeks to overthrow the evil King Gorge. The show features a variety of meals that transform into monsters, but besides that quirky gimmick and a sense of humor, the show doesn't stand out that much. Fighting Foodons had 2 Game Boy Color games, as well as 1 game on the WonderSwan, but otherwise, the series has fallen into obscurity. The show is mostly memorable for being the most bizarre of the Pokemon-type shows of the period, and I could only recommend it for a quick laugh, if at all. Number 5. Zatch Bell. Zatch Bell, known in Japan as Golden Gash, is an anime by Toei Animation with 150 episodes, based upon a shonen manga by Makoto Raiku. Zatch Bell follows the adventures of Kyo and his Momoto named Zatch. A Momoto is a mystical creature from a parallel universe. Momoto travel to the human world once every 1,000 years and battle in order to determine the new king of their world. Momoto use powerful spells in battle, which must be read aloud from their spellbooks by their human companions. Momotos tend to be anthropomorphic, but some are animalistic in their designs. The series spawned a few video games as well, mainly fighting games, one of which was similar to Nintendo's Super Smash Bros. Games. It also had a unique card game that involved each player using a mini version of their Momoto's spellbook to battle with. If you're looking for a show with a bit more action and intensity in its fights, Zatch Bell is probably one of your best bets, as it is a shonen anime, rather than something geared towards younger children. Number 6. Dragon Drive. Number 6 on this list is another shonen anime similar to Pokemon, involving a virtual world and dragons. Dragon Drive is a 37-episode anime by Madhouse and NAS, based on a manga by Kenichi Sakura. The main character is a boy named Reiji, who enters the virtual world known as Dragon Drive, and does battle with his small dragon named Chibi. The players of Dragon Drive all have dragons as partners, who battle with one another throughout the show. Like Zatch Bell, the show is based upon a shonen manga, so its action is a little more intense than some of the others on this list. The story in the original manga continues long after the events of the anime, and features many characters not seen in the television show. Dragon Drive spawned several video games, but none were ever released in the West. Dragon Drive is probably the most obscure children's anime on the list, at least to Western audiences, due to the fact that it's the only one to have never been broadcast on Western networks, instead having only been released on DVDs. But it's definitely one of the better shows in my opinion. Number 7. Mon Colle Knights. Mon Colle Knights is a 51-episode anime by Studio Dean, based off of a Japanese card game known as Monster Collection. Mon Colle Knights stars a couple of kids named Mondo and Rokuna, who go on adventures in the Mon world, a world full of mystical creatures, in order to find 6 monster items required to connect both worlds together. The two battle against Prince Excentro and his underlings by merging with the different monsters of the Mon world, a lot of which are pretty generic. Mon Colle Knights is another more obscure entry on the list, one which I barely remembered from my childhood, so much so that I can't exactly recommend the show. I felt the need to include it on this list regardless, being a product of the same time and somewhat similar in nature to Pokemon. The last 4 anime on this list are intended for older audiences, to varying degrees, and do not necessarily adhere to the time period criterion the previous anime did. Number 8. Shadowstar Narutaru. Shadowstar Narutaru is a 13-episode anime produced by an anime studio called Planet, based upon a manga by Mohiro Kito. The anime is a mature horror anime take on the pet monster genre, and is considered a deconstruction of the genre. 12-year-old Shina bonds with a creature known as a dragon child, which she has named Hoshimaru. She meets other young people with dragon children, and the show slowly goes from somewhat eerie to incredibly dark and disturbing by the end of the 13th episode. The anime is an adaptation of the first half of the manga, and has an open ending that does not conclude a lot of the plot threads. While it does feature blood and gore, it's tame in comparison to the manga. I recommend Shadowstar Narutaru if you're okay with an open ending and a slow beginning. Number 9. Devil Survivor 2: The Animation. 9th on this list is a 13-episode anime by an anime studio called Bridge, based on a tactical role-playing game called Devil Survivor 2 on the Nintendo DS. The show involves 3 high school students who download an app that allows them to summon creatures known as demons. While the weaker demons are very generic in their designs, stronger ones do have somewhat unique designs. The 3 join a secret government organization in order to take down the 7 different Septentrians, demons sent by an entity known as Polaris, who seeks to throw humanity into the void, so as to have never existed. On top of being an anime similar to Pokemon, This anime shares a lot of similarities with the hit show Neon Genesis Evangelion in terms of its plot. However, it lacks the same level of depth and character development, to say the least. While you probably won't find it to be very thought-provoking, Devil Survivor 2, the animation, may be an enjoyable watch overall. Number 10, mai-hime. Number 10 on this list is a lot more of a magical girl anime than it is a pet monster one, but these magical girls battle alongside their own individual monsters. mai-hime is a 26-episode anime by Sunrise, with an equally long spin-off series, as well as a couple OVA series. mai-hime tells the story of Mai Tokiha, who discovers she is a magical girl called a hime, and has the ability to call upon a strong monster known as her child. Mai does battle against evil monsters called orphans, alongside other hime from her school, but things take a darker turn after they discover other enemies lurk in the shadows as well. The show does have a lot of annoying fan service in the earlier episodes, but the characters in mai-hime are likable enough to make some of these awkward moments funny. Otherwise, the comedic moments do have a lot of charm to them. mai-hime takes a more serious turn around its halfway point, a trope known as Cerebus syndrome, and becomes an intense contest between each of the hime. Overall, mai-hime is an entertaining show that gets better as it progresses. Number 11. Ranga. To call this last show Pokemon-like is a bit of a stretch, but I can't resist the chance to recommend Ranga. Ranga is a 48-episode anime by Studio Pierrot, although those episodes are about half the length of a typical episode of anime. The show is about 3 girls who inherit a Pacific god named Ranga, who is a giant kaiju monster that follows the girls back to Japan. Ranga touches up on a plethora of interesting and mature themes, but still manages to keep a lighthearted side to itself. While it does feature battles with other giant monsters, it's definitely not a monster of the week type show. A good portion of the show deals with the problems that come along with having a giant kaiju monster in Japan. Ranga requires the viewer's full attention due to its quick pacing, but out of all the shows on this list, it's the one I recommend watching the most. The ending comes off as rushed and somewhat disappointing, but overall it's a great anime that deserves more attention. All in all, the pet monster genre has had a host of titles in its time, and considering Pokemon's appeal and success, it's no wonder. Hopefully I was able to interest you in watching something new to you. Thank you for watching, and have a great evening.